Well, it has been more than 2 decades since South African comedian Marc Lottering began making global audiences laugh. Lottering has also written no fewer than 16 one-man shows and 2 critically acclaimed musicals, Aunty Merle The Musical and the smash hit award-winning sequel, Aunty Merle, It's a Girl. His comedy shows and musicals have also received rave reviews, especially for his much-loved stage character, Aunty Merle. Lottering is back at the Pieter Toerien Theatre at Monte Casino with his new solo stand-up show entitled So I Wrote That Musical, where he shares hilarious stories as he reflects on the process of moving between the worlds of stand-up comedy and musicals. Marc Lottering is in studio to tell us more about this. Marc, it is so good to see you.
Yo, good to see you. You said more than 2 decades. Leanne.
I know.
Sure.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's true.
You know, when someone else reads your CV, you always sort of look at it and you think, this is me? I have done all of that.
Yeah, but I'd rather hear those things when I'm alive.
Yeah, right. You're very much so right. While you're alive and we can all still laugh about it. How has it been, though? 20 years of making people laugh.
It's been very interesting. We live in a country where there's so much turmoil, and politically we always have stuff going on. That's an understatement. Yeah. So I think the role of the comedian has always been, I mean, in every country in the world, the role of the comedian is an important one. But I've lived it in South Africa, where people want to drive to the theatre and literally for 90 minutes just push everything aside and scream with laughter. I mean, I do go on stage and you cannot ignore the issues of the day, but I think the challenge of the comedian is still to make people laugh about it. That's a big challenge. So there are certain topics that I just won't touch because even I can't laugh at that. Yeah. But there are other things, and I mean, it's always been a tool of survival for us as South Africans, regardless as to what we go through. We somehow, if I go on social media, the memes that South Africans come up with to get us through the darkest of times, it's been our form of survival.
It's unbelievable. You find yourself laughing at things you really shouldn't be laughing at, because suddenly there's just the comments, the clapbacks, the pictures, it's like South Africa. We don't deserve the internet.
I know, but even yesterday, so now I'm, because I'm from the other country, Cape Town, so now I'm in the country of Joburg.
Yeah, welcome to South Africa.
So I see different things. So suddenly you guys have these men in green at the four-way stops when the traffic lights go down. So I say to my Joburg friends, oh wow, these guys are here and they're just telling the traffic like what, and it's quite a thing, because you go, so I'm listening to this guy and then they say, yeah, they get money as well. So I said, who pays them? They say, no, we pay them.
Yeah.
So yesterday I had to navigate that, and I'm on William Nicol, and it wasn't even a 4-way stop, it was like a flippin' 11-way stop. I was so close to Jesus, and then you time it, and the guy says come, and I don't even know if he's got a driver's license, and I go, and then I've got my 5 Rand coin, and you hand it out at full speed, and then I tell someone else about it last night, and she says, no, you're not supposed to pay them, because we've also caught some of them, they unplug the electricity, and then the Helen Zille in me is suddenly like, am I doing the right thing? So yeah, Joburg keeps me close to the Lord, and the way I drive on your streets, I don't even want to check my underwear when I get home. I mean, it's just crazy.
Joburg is not for the faint-hearted.
It's not for the faint-hearted.
Here, and it is just, you take your life into your own hands. But then you also learn the hustle. You're like, there's the guys, because they've got a thing going. What happens is now they've increased the amount of staff that work the traffic lights. So you've got the guys that are directing the traffic, the others that are picking up. Then you'll get to the next robot, and there's a whole musical performance. Have you seen those?
I've seen those with the crates, and also, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money in my ashtray, in my car.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive just to drive to get to your venue. So for me, it's a whole different thing. But you get used to the vibe very, very, very quickly, and it takes me about 4 days to turn into a complete Joburger, because coming from Cape Town, when I'm driving, if you want space in the lane, you wait, and then somebody says go, and then you go, and then you put on your hazards and you say thank you, and you add them on Facebook. 4 days in Joburg, I'm like, come on, what's happening? Go. And I'm like, what's become of me? Because, I'm actually a nice person. So, but to get on in Joburg and to get things moving along, you quickly pick up how things have to be done. So the tempo is a little bit different. but I'm always excited to be here, and I talk about a lot of that stuff in the show.
I can't wait. No, I need this. I can already feel today that you've brought some life to my brain. Now I'm laughing because it is. We're very, very funny. But this is something that you're going to take around the country and the funny thing is that every city has its different quirks. It's insane. It doesn't matter where you go. I mean, I had a guy. I have to tell you about my Uber driver in Durban. Are you doing the show in Durban?
Yes, I'm going to Durban as well.
So he was a big Zulu man, and it was quite cold in Durban the other day. It was 2 days ago, and it was quite cold. And he arrived in slip-slops, shorts, and something else. Gets into the car. The music is blasting. You know, gone are the days where they say, "Is there anything you'd like to listen to?"
Yeah, no,
or are you warm or are you cold? So the music's blasting. I'm bouncing to the music.
And a wonderful smile of Stay Soft.
The heater is on full blast. Yeah. The window's open, and I'm like, what is happening here? So that's Durban. It's a different vibe altogether.
Yeah.
So you change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Uber drivers is always a good way into every city to get to understand the feel of the place. And I find that very interesting as well. I use Uber a lot because I'm a lazy driver.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the challenges that I face over here. But very interestingly, last week I got into an Uber, and I haven't actually told anyone this, but I made a note too. And the Uber driver, we make conversation because you quickly pick up, you soon know within a minute whether you've got a lonely Uber driver or not. So I had a lonely Uber driver because they start talking immediately. And then the guy says, I said, how's life? He says, not great. I went to the doctor, he's getting on with life, and he said he's blind in his left eye.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, I'm then praying that there are no left turns on this route that I'm taking. So I'm thinking life never ceases to be entertaining. It never ceases to be entertaining.
There's only enough to talk.
In the left eye.
Oh, in the left, okay.
So yeah, when the app said go left, I was like, ignore the app. Let's just keep going right wherever we go.
I love, oh wow. We are a law unto ourselves. And that's why, we talk about you being in here for 2 decades, but there is material for days. I mean, have you noticed lately, and this is, I don't know where this is where we live in a lawless country. We're talking about driving in phones, is that I saw the other day, somebody was on their phone having a FaceTime while they were driving. So the phone was here, the steering wheel happened to be there, and the other phone was here that they were texting on. So this was FaceTime, there was the steering wheel, and here was the other hand, and nobody would, I was like, no.
Yeah.
This can't be possible. So the person was driving with their knee, I think.
And I know the problem, well, that's a gifted person.
It is.
But the problem is that you and I see things like that, and we kind of become immune to it.
That's the problem.
And South Africa is a law unto itself. And only when I talk about this stuff on stage does one realize, especially when there are people who are not from South Africa watching my shows, they go, oh, wow. I've recently moved because, I live in an area called Woodstock in Cape Town.
Yeah. You have for a while? No, have you just moved there?
I've just moved there. All my life I've been renting in Clifton, which is a wonderful side of life, but on my hashtags I never said renting. You would think I own the house because, on Instagram your life just has to be fabulous. But then my partner Anma said it's time we grow up and we have to live where we can actually afford to live and buy.
Absolutely.
So we're in Woodstock, and I had an inverter installed, and this is South Africa. So the thing about inverters is that nobody actually knows how it works. Even the electricians, they don't tell you, they don't know because they want the job. And the guy stands there with a lot of wires in his mouth, he's at the board, and immediately, because I've got matric with exemption, I can feel you don't know what you're doing, And he's doing all the electrician stuff, there's all the wires, little bit of cleavage at the back, and I'm like, my bro, are you going to sort it out? Like, no, I'm going to worry. And you can feel already, don't know what you're doing. And it took them a whole week to get this thing sorted, and that's only because I serve snacks, because my friends tell me when you serve snacks to people who work at your house, they're going to stay there all week, and my mother instilled that in me, you must feed people. So I fed him, so of course the job stretched for a week. And the guy, and only in South Africa, the guy looks at me when he leaves and he says, it's great, and it's great meeting you, and I just want to say, when there's load shedding at night, don't use your inverter.
Oh, okay.
And I did that you just did in a very ad-manner's way. And I said, no, come on. He said, no, don't use it at night, because me in South Africa, he said, because the gangsters drive around at night. when there's load shedding. So if your lights are on, they know that you've got an inverter,
So you've got
and then
money.
they'll break into your house the next day to steal your inverter. So
Oh.
now I just do nothing. I just sit with a candle
sit in the dark.
on my couch, and that is South African life. And I was like, here we are. And he said it like it's the most normal thing.
And you understood him.
And I completely-
You actually were like,
I completely
"Flip, you know you're
understood him."
right. Thanks for the
Yeah,
advice.
yeah,
That's right.
I
And then
completely
you still paid
understood.
your 200,000 rand.
Of course.
Aunty Merle, is she making an appearance here?
She's not making an appearance here because this is just, you know, stand-up is I love the Aunty Merle musicals,
Yeah.
but stand-up is my first love. And for me, when people watch me, some people often say, because, you know, my late father was a pastor of a church. So when I'm on stage, I'm moving around and something else takes over and I just gooi and I go for it. So I don't like to be interrupted when I'm doing my stand-up. So it's me without the characters, talking about the fact that I wrote these musicals. And the reason I loved writing musicals and having other people around me, in fact, our show does come to Joburg later, the musical, but suddenly I wasn't alone on stage. And the life of a comedian is, a lot of comedians don't tell you, but it's actually a really lonely life. The only great part about being a comedian alone on stage is when you bow, then you realize the money's all mine. I'm not going to share it with anybody. Look
nice,
at God. But otherwise it gets lonely. And before I walk on stage, my mother's words always come to me, you know, because they always say, Mark, 1 minute to go, you know, 30 seconds to go. And then you want to be anywhere else, because I think tonight's the night the show's not going to work.
And no one's going to laugh at me.
Tonight is the night Leanne Manners is going to be in a bad mood. She had an argument with her husband, Mark, at home. They're not going to laugh at anything. They're just going to stare at me and wonder why they were here. And I always remember my mother always would say to me, please don't go into entertainment. I've got a connection at Clicks. I can get you a job. You can work you up, which means you can get a promotion. But then you go ahead and you do this stuff. And so I'm still in a happy place when I'm standing alone on stage, different to the musicals. But I still really, really love the fact that I can hear South Africans laughing. And there's no bigger gift than that. People always say, what was your best show? And I can never say it that night. My best show is always the night when there are hundreds of people screaming with laughter. There's no money that can compensate with that. But I do expect people to pay for the show, though, because when you pay to see me, it's just God using you to help me live better. And I can't get in the way of God.
That is the best sales pitch I've ever had. I mean, we'll cut that. Make sure that you can post that on Instagram.
Thank
and
you.
More than a sales pitch of that, you don't need. Go and support Marc Lottering's lifestyle. Buy tickets to watch his show. It's going to be amazing. If this was just a taste of what to get, you got to go. He's in Joburg, and he's here from the 7th, tonight's opening night, until the 16th of July. Cannot wait to go and watch it. It's a national tour, and the latest comedy is called So I Wrote That Musical. It's at Pieter Toerien's Monte Casino Theatre. So lovely having you. Thank you, Mark. Always such a pleasure.